Imagine sailing the Adriatic Sea, the same waters that Roman mariners navigated 2,000 years ago. Now, picture what lies beneath those waves. Archaeologists in Croatia have just made a discovery that brings this ancient world roaring back to life. Off the coast of Sukošan, in a quiet bay named Barbir, they've found a Roman shipwreck, and it's not just any wreck. This one is so well preserved it's like a time capsule from the Roman Empire. This isn't just a few scattered planks of wood. We're talking about a nearly complete 12.5-meter-long ship dating back to the 1st or 2nd century AD. What makes this find truly spectacular is that much of its upper structure is still intact. Usually, the top parts of ancient ships are the first to be destroyed by time and the sea. But here, we have a clear picture of what this vessel actually looked like. So, what kind of ship was it? The evidence points to a hard-working trading vessel. Archaeologists found olive pits on board, a staple of Roman trade. This, combined with other agricultural remains discovered in the nearby ancient port, paints a vivid picture of a bustling maritime economy. This ship was the Roman equivalent of a modern cargo truck, a crucial link in the supply chain that fed the empire and moved its goods across the sea. The design of the ship itself tells a fascinating story. It was built broad and sturdy, designed not for speed, but for stability and carrying heavy loads over long distances. Think about the engineering skill required to construct a vessel like this, using only hand tools, a vessel capable of braving the open sea. This find gives us a direct look into the practical, ingenious shipbuilding techniques of the Romans. One of the most exciting aspects of this project is the international collaboration behind it. Experts from the University of Toruń in Poland, the Max Planck Institute, Aix-Marseille University, and the company Navarcos are all working together. They're not just digging, they're using cutting-edge technology to digitally model and reconstruct the ship. This means we'll soon be able to see a 3D representation of the vessel, as if it were floating on the water today. It's like digital resurrection. This allows researchers to study its construction in minute detail without even touching the delicate ancient wood. The discovery site in Barbir Bay is proving to be a treasure trove. It wasn't just a random spot where a ship went down, it was part of a larger Roman port complex. The port itself was a sophisticated structure with a pier made of large stone blocks and thousands of wooden piles driven into the seabed to create a stable foundation. The ship seems to have been moored at this very pier when it sank. Why it sank is still a mystery. Was it a sudden storm? A fire? Did it simply take on too much water and founder at its mooring? These are the questions the team is now trying to answer. Each artifact they recover adds another piece to the puzzle. They've found pottery shards, animal bones, and even fragments of leather, possibly from shoes or bags. Each item is a personal connection to the people who lived and worked here. Imagine a Roman sailor taking a break on the deck, eating olives and spitting the pits overboard, never imagining they would be found by archaeologists 2 millennia later. It's these small human details that make history so compelling. This project is redefining our understanding of Roman-era commerce in the Adriatic. It shows how interconnected the region was, with ships like this one forming the backbone of the economy. They weren't just transporting goods, they were transporting culture, ideas, and people. The Adriatic was a Roman highway, and this shipwreck is like a perfectly preserved rest stop, giving us an unprecedented glimpse into the daily life of that highway. The meticulous work of the dive team is incredible. Underwater archaeology is painstaking. Divers can only spend a limited amount of time below the surface, and they have to work with extreme care to avoid damaging the fragile artifacts. They use special dredges to gently remove layers of sand and sediment that have protected the wreck for centuries. It's slow, deliberate work, but the payoff is immense. Every new section of the ship they uncover reveals more about how it was built and used. Thanks to this digital reconstruction, we can virtually walk the decks of this Roman ship. We can see how the cargo was stored, where the crew might have slept, and how the ship was steered. It's the closest we can get to time travel. This allows us to appreciate the ingenuity of Roman naval architects and the bravery of the sailors who entrusted their lives to these wooden vessels. This discovery reminds us that the past is not lost. It's just hidden. It's waiting beneath our feet, under the waves, ready to be rediscovered. And when it is, it can completely change our perspective on history. This Croatian shipwreck is more than just old wood. It's a story of trade, technology, and human endeavor, preserved for 2,000 years, now finally being told. The team will continue their work, and who knows what other secrets Barbia Bay might reveal. We'll be keeping a close eye on their progress. Have you ever wondered what life was like over 3,000 years ago? What if I told you that on the beautiful island of Sardinia, there's a place that can transport you back to the Bronze Age? Welcome to Sunuraxi di Barumini, one of the most mysterious and magnificent prehistoric sites in the entire Mediterranean. Imagine standing before a fortress that has defied the ages. Built around the 17th century BC, this isn't just a pile of old stones, it's a masterpiece of ancient engineering. The heart of Sunuraxi is its massive central tower, a silent giant that has watched over this land for millennia. This central keep, originally soaring over 18 meters high, was the stronghold, the symbol of power for a civilization we are still working to fully understand, the Nuragic people. But the story doesn't end with one tower. Surrounding it are 4 smaller, yet equally impressive corner towers, all connected by a mighty curtain wall. This created an intricate multi-level fortress, a defensive bastion that would have been an intimidating sight to any approaching enemy. Think about the skill and manpower required to quarry, transport, and perfectly fit these enormous basalt blocks together without any mortar. It's a puzzle of colossal proportions, solved by people who lived thousands of years before the Roman Empire was even a thought. As we move away from the main fortress, the story expands. A sprawling village grew around the Nuraga, a labyrinth of over 50 circular stone huts. This is where the community thrived. For centuries, from the 13th to the 6th century BC, families lived here. They cooked in these hearths, they stored their food in these chambers, and they gathered in communal spaces. Walking through the narrow, winding streets, you can almost hear the echoes of their daily lives, the chatter of conversations, the clanging of a blacksmith's hammer, the laughter of children playing in the shadow of the great towers. These huts weren't just simple shelters. Archaeologists have uncovered fascinating details about Nuragic society from these ruins. We see specialized areas for different activities, workshops for crafting tools and pottery, spaces for grinding grain, and even areas that suggest religious or ritualistic practices. The layout of the village, with its shared courtyards and public spaces, points to a highly organized and cooperative community. They weren't just surviving, they were building a complex society. One of the most intriguing aspects of Sunuraxi is its evolution. The site wasn't built all at once. It grew and was modified over 1,000 years. The original fortress was later reinforced, and the village expanded. This tells us a story of a changing world. Perhaps they faced new threats, requiring stronger defenses, or maybe their population grew, needing more homes and resources. Each layer of stone tells a different chapter of their long and fascinating history. Let's take a moment to visualize this place in its prime. Based on archaeological reconstructions, Sunuraxi would have been a bustling hub of activity. The towers, plastered and possibly topped with wooden structures, would have gleamed under the Sardinian sun. The village below would have been alive with people, a self-sufficient community trading goods with other Nuragic tribes, and perhaps even with merchants from across the sea. like the Phoenicians and Mycenaeans. Evidence of imported goods found on site suggests that this seemingly isolated community was surprisingly well connected to the wider Mediterranean world. So, what was the purpose of these colossal nuraghes? This is the great mystery that continues to captivate experts. Were they purely defensive fortresses? Were they palaces for chieftains or kings? Or were they monumental temples, centers of spiritual power and celestial observation? The truth is, they were likely a combination of all these things. Sunuraxi was the heart of its territory, a center for defense, politics, religion, and community life. It was a statement of identity and power, a declaration of the Nuragic people's place in the world. The civilization that built Sunuraxi eventually declined, and the site was abandoned. Over centuries, it was buried by earth and forgotten by history, becoming just another hill in the Sardinian landscape. It wasn't until the 1950s that the archaeologist Giovanni Liliu began systematic excavations, slowly and painstakingly revealing the incredible complex we see today. It was like uncovering a lost world. His work was so significant that in 1997, UNESCO declared Sunuraxi a World Heritage Site, recognizing it as an unparalleled example of this unique prehistoric civilization. Standing here today, you can't help but feel a profound sense of connection to the past. You can touch the same stones that were handled by builders 3,700 years ago. You can walk the same paths as the villagers who called this place home. It's a humbling experience that puts our own modern lives into perspective. Sunuraxi is more than just an archaeological site. It's a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and the enduring need for community. It's a silent, stone-built storybook, waiting for you to come and read its pages. Sardinia is an island of wonders, but Sunuraxi holds a special place. It challenges our perceptions of prehistoric Europe and reveals a civilization that was far more sophisticated and organized than once believed. It reminds us that history is not just about grand empires and famous kings, but also about the everyday people who built extraordinary things. When you picture a Roman legionary, this is the armor you see, gleaming, segmented, and radiating power. But what made it so special? How did it work, and what did it represent? Join me as we strap in and explore the legendary armor that helped build an empire. The 1st century AD was a period of incredible expansion and consolidation for Rome. From the misty frontiers of Britannia to the sun-scorched deserts of Syria, the Roman legions were the instruments of imperial will. And to be effective in such diverse and hostile environments, a soldier needed the best gear available. Enter the Lorica segmentata. This armor was a revolutionary leap in military technology, a stark departure from the chainmail, or Lorica hamata, that had been the standard for centuries. So, what exactly was it? The name Lorica segmentata is actually a modern term, coined by scholars. The Romans themselves likely had a more practical name for it, but the description is perfect. It was a cuirass made of segmented plates. These were iron strips, or lames, arranged in horizontal bands around the torso. These bands were cleverly fastened to internal leather straps, creating a shell of overlapping metal. This design was pure genius. The overlapping plates meant that a sword strike or spear thrust would likely glance off or be stopped by multiple layers of iron. It provided excellent protection for the most vital areas, the chest, back, and shoulders. One of the most significant advantages of the segmentata was its combination of protection and flexibility. Unlike a solid breastplate, which can severely restrict movement, the segmented construction allowed a soldier to bend, twist, and swing his arms with a surprising degree of freedom. Imagine the demands of a Roman battlefield, marching for miles, building fortifications, and then engaging in brutal close-quarters combat. A legionary needed to be able to throw a pilum, draw his gladius, and maneuver with his scutum shield without his armor getting in the way. The lorica segmentata allowed for all of that. The shoulder guards, or pauldrones, were particularly well designed, covering the upper arms and shoulders without impeding the powerful overhand thrust of the Roman sword. Now, you might be thinking, how did they put this thing on? It wasn't a simple slip-on vest. The armor was typically made in two halves, front and back, which were joined at the sides with leather ties or metal clasps. The shoulder and chest plates were then fastened together with intricate brass hinges, hooks, and pins. Getting dressed for battle was a deliberate process, often requiring the help of a fellow soldier, a contubernalis. This daily ritual of arming up reinforced camaraderie and interdependence within the ranks. Underneath the armor, a soldier would wear a simple wool tunic to prevent chafing and add a layer of padding. It's a common misconception that they wore it against bare skin. That would have been incredibly uncomfortable. To complete the look, the legionary would don his galea, the iconic helmet with its protective neck guard and cheek pieces. He'd carry the massive rectangular shield, the scutum, and on his feet he'd wear the famous hobnailed sandals known as caligae. Together, this ensemble made the Roman legionary a walking fortress, a perfectly engineered instrument of war. The sight of thousands of soldiers, all clad in this uniform, gleaming in the sun, must have been both awe-inspiring and terrifying to their enemies. So, where did this design come from? The exact origins are still debated by historians and archaeologists. Some evidence suggests it may have evolved from armor worn by gladiators in the arena, where a balance of spectacle, protection, and mobility was crucial. Others point to potential influences from Hellenistic or even Eastern designs. What we do know for sure is that by the time of Emperor Tiberius, it was becoming standard issue for the legions stationed on the critical frontiers of the empire, particularly along the Rhine and Danube rivers. Archaeology has been our greatest guide in understanding the lorica segmentata. We don't have a single complete suit surviving from antiquity. Instead, our knowledge is pieced together from fragments found at various Roman military sites. One of the most significant discoveries was at Corbridge, England, near Hadrian's Wall. In 1964, a wooden chest was unearthed containing a hoard of armor parts, which allowed for the first accurate reconstructions. These reconstructions are not just for museum displays, they have been crucial for experimental archaeology. Modern enthusiasts and historians wear these replicas, testing their weight, their mobility, and their protective qualities in simulated combat. These experiments have confirmed that the segmentata, weighing around 20 pounds or 9 kilograms, was remarkably efficient. It distributed its weight effectively across the shoulders and torso, making it less fatiguing to wear on long marches than chainmail of a similar protective level. However, the lorica segmentata wasn't perfect. Its complex construction of iron plates, leather straps, and brass fittings made it high maintenance. Iron rusts, especially in the damp climates of northern Europe. Leather degrades and breaks. Soldiers had to constantly clean, oil, and repair their armor to keep it in working order. This is a stark contrast to the simpler, more rugged chainmail, which could withstand more neglect. This high-maintenance nature is likely one of the reasons why the segmentata was primarily used by the legionaries, the professional, well-supplied corps of the army, while auxiliary troops often continued to use the more robust and cheaper chainmail or scale armor. Beyond its purely functional aspects, the lorica segmentata was a powerful symbol. It represented the cutting edge of Roman military innovation and the incredible organizational power of the state. To produce and supply tens of thousands of these complex suits of armor required a sophisticated system of workshops or fabricae, spread across the empire. It showcased Rome as industrial capacity and its commitment to equipping its soldiers with the best technology money could buy. Furthermore, the uniformity of the armor fostered a profound sense of unity and discipline. When a soldier put on his lorica segmentata, he was no longer just a man from Italy, Gaul, or Spain. He was a Roman legionary, an integral part of a formidable fighting machine. This visual cohesion reinforced the collective identity and unwavering discipline that made the Roman legions so effective. The armor was a physical manifestation of the Roman military ethos: order, strength, and unity. It was a statement that every soldier was a vital, protected, and standardized part of a greater whole. Interestingly, the reign of the lorica segmentata was relatively brief in the grand scheme of Roman history. It was most prominent during the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, the era of the Pax Romana. By the 3rd century, during a period of intense civil war and economic crisis, the segmentata began to disappear from the archaeological record. It was gradually replaced by simpler, cheaper forms of armor, including a return to widespread use of chainmail and scale armor. The reasons are complex, but it likely came down to economics and logistics. The empire's resources were stretched thin, and it was simply easier and cheaper to produce and maintain older, simpler designs for a rapidly changing army. And so, the lorica segmentata faded from the battlefield, but it never faded from our imagination. It remains the definitive armor of Rome at its zenith. It represents an empire at the peak of its power, confident in its engineering, its organization, and its military supremacy. It tells a story of innovation, of the balance between protection and mobility, and of the discipline that held the legions together. It is more than just a piece of metal and leather. It's a symbol of the might, the order, and the enduring legacy of the Roman Empire. Imagine, it's 1923. The world is abuzz. Just a year after Tutankhamun's tomb was sensationally opened, another discovery sends shockwaves through the field of Egyptology. A previously unknown chamber is found deep within the Great Pyramid of Giza. For decades, many believed the pyramid had revealed all its secrets, but this new finding reignited one of archaeology's oldest and most profound mysteries. What was the true purpose of the pyramids? For centuries, we've been taught a simple, elegant story. The Great Pyramids of Giza were magnificent tombs, eternal resting places for the powerful pharaohs Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. It's a narrative that makes sense. These colossal structures, rising from the desert plateau, certainly seem fit for kings destined for the afterlife. The sheer scale is breathtaking. The Great Pyramid alone is made of over 2 million stone blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons. The precision is mind-boggling. It's a testament to human ingenuity and a civilization's devotion to its rulers. But here's the catch, the puzzle piece that just doesn't fit. Despite their grandeur, despite the centuries of exploration and excavation, not a single pharaoh's mummy has ever been found within the Giza pyramids. Not one. We've found sarcophagi, yes, like the empty granite box in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid. But the bodies of the kings they were supposedly built for are conspicuously absent. This glaring omission challenges the very foundation of what we thought we knew. If they weren't tombs, then what were they? This single stubborn fact has opened the floodgates to a wave of fascinating and sometimes controversial theories. It has forced us to look beyond the textbook and ask bolder questions. What if the pyramids served an entirely different purpose, one far more complex and extraordinary than simply housing the dead? One of the most compelling alternative ideas suggests the pyramids were not tombs at all, but some form of advanced machine. Proponents of this theory point to the incredible internal structure. It's not just a pile of rocks. The Great Pyramid contains a complex network of passages, shafts, and chambers, all constructed with a precision that rivals modern engineering. The so-called air shafts, for example, don't point to the outside air. Instead, they align with specific star constellations like Orion and Sirius, which were incredibly important in ancient Egyptian cosmology. Why would a tomb need star shafts? Were they pathways for the king's soul to ascend to the heavens, as traditional theory suggests? Or were they something else entirely? Some researchers have proposed that these shafts, combined with the specific materials used in the pyramid's construction, like granite and limestone, could have created a unique energetic environment. The theory goes that the pyramid was designed to harness the natural energies of the earth, perhaps even generating a form of power. The king's chamber, with its granite sarcophagus, might have been the focal point of this process. It sounds like science fiction, but investigators have measured strange electromagnetic anomalies inside the pyramid, leading them to believe there might be more to this idea than meets the eye. Could the pyramids have been ancient power plants, generating energy for a purpose we can no longer comprehend? Then there's the question of the construction itself. The sheer mathematical precision is staggering. The base of the Great Pyramid is almost a perfect square, with side lengths accurate to within a few centimeters. It is aligned almost perfectly to true north, with an accuracy that modern builders would find difficult to replicate without GPS. How did a civilization, supposedly working with simple copper tools and ropes, achieve this level of sophistication? The logistics are equally baffling. How did they quarry, transport, and lift millions of multi-ton blocks with such accuracy? The mainstream explanation involves massive ramps and an enormous labor force. And while the skill and organization of the ancient Egyptians should never be underestimated, some experts argue that even with our current technology, replicating the Great Pyramid today would be an almost insurmountable challenge. This has led to another bold theory, that the pyramids are far older than we think. Could they be relics of a much earlier, forgotten civilization? A highly advanced society that existed thousands of years before the pharaohs, possessing knowledge and technology that has since been lost to time. This idea, often called the ancient advanced civilization theory, suggests that the dynastic Egyptians found these structures already standing and simply repurposed them, claiming them as their own. It would explain the lack of original pharaonic remains and the seemingly impossible level of engineering. It reframes the Egyptians not as the builders, but as the inheritors of a profound legacy. This theory also ties into the idea of the pyramids as repositories of knowledge. Perhaps their precise measurements and alignments are not accidental. What if the pyramids are a stone library, encoding advanced mathematical and astronomical data? The value of pi, the golden ratio, the precise dimensions of the Earth. Researchers claim to have found all of these and more encoded in the pyramid's geometry. Were they built to preserve crucial information for future generations? A warning or a guide from a civilization that knew its own time was ending? And what of that secret chamber discovered in 1923 and others found since, including a massive void detected using modern scanning technology just a few years ago? Each new discovery only deepens the mystery. These hidden spaces seem to have no obvious entrance, and their purpose is completely unknown. They fuel the speculation that the pyramids still hold secrets we are yet to uncover. Perhaps the real treasure wasn't gold or jewels, but a hidden chamber containing records or artifacts that could rewrite human history as we know it. So, where does that leave us? We have these monumental structures that defy easy explanation. On one hand, we have the traditional view. They were tombs for kings, magnificent monuments to their power, and journey to the afterlife. It is a theory supported by surrounding temples and cemeteries packed with the tombs of officials and family members. On the other hand, the complete absence of the main occupants and the inexplicable precision and complexity of their design push us toward more radical ideas. Were they machines of the gods, harnessing cosmic energy? Were they built by a lost civilization as a timeless encyclopedia of sacred knowledge? Or were they in fact tombs? But the pharaohs were interred in a part of the pyramid so cleverly hidden that we have yet to find it after thousands of years of searching. The truth is, we don't know. The Great Pyramid of Giza remains the last of the 7 wonders of the ancient world still standing, and it holds its secrets tight. It continues to challenge our assumptions, push the boundaries of our knowledge, and inspire awe and wonder in equal measure. Every new discovery, every new theory reminds us that there is still so much we don't understand about our own past. The question remains, a silent challenge posed by the stones themselves. Were the pyramids tombs of kings or something far, far more? What do you believe?